My goal today is to create a dashboard in QuickScore. I've already logged in and have landed at my home page. To start, I'd like to review some of the features of dashboards. I'll select Dashboards, expand Mobile World, and select the Key Measures organization. I'll then select New Dashboard, type a name for the dashboard like Training, and select Create. I get presented with the toolbar from which I'll select Settings on the far right. I'll start with background color, and to work with a brighter background, I'll switch from gray to white, and then return to Settings by clicking on background color. I'll select Snap To and see that the options are widgets, grid, or none. The default is widgets, in which a line will be drawn between widgets when aligning. If I select grid, there is a visual grid which will help align widgets on the screen. If I select none, there is no guide to help with alignment. I'll leave the default of widgets and click away. If I wish to add a new widget to the dashboard, I'll select the plus icon on the far left. If I wanted to add my company logo, I'll select Image. From here, I have two options. I could select Upload Image, navigate to the appropriate directory, select the image, and then click Open. However, I'll select Cancel, and I'll show the alternative option by selecting Add Shared Image. This option allows for the selection of images that have been previously loaded to the Files area. The most recent revision is the master. I'll select the latest version of the spider logo and then select Add. I'll move the image across the screen and resize it. Next, I'll provide an example of embedding a widget by linking to the QuickScore main site. I'll select Add Widget, and this time select the Embedded widget. I'll type the URL, and note that there are a couple requirements. The embedded link must be HTTPS, and the site I'm adding must be allowed to be embedded in other sites. I'll then click Done, select Save in the upper right, and then click Done in the bottom left. I'll see that the widget is live and interactive, and to show that I'll click on the white box, and I'll just pick something like Learn and scroll down a bit and then scroll back up. To save some real estate, I'll select Edit and then select the widget and then delete it. Next, I'll illustrate that a few functions can be used in dashboards that dynamically update. Once again, I'll select the plus icon and then this time select the text widget. I'll double click and I'll enter the functions calendar, calendar dash period, and today, and wrap each of those in brackets. I'll select Save and then Done to see those values automatically update for today's date and the periodicity I've selected in the top right. If I switch to quarterly, for instance, and select Show Results, I'll see a couple of the values update automatically on the dashboard. I'll switch back to monthly and then select May. I'll go back to Edit and then delete the widget. Next, I'll show that notes can be included with dashboards. Once again, I'll select the plus icon, and this time select the Notes widget. I'll select Scorecard Item, and within the Demo org, I'll expand Financial and increase Profit, and I'll select Total Gross Profit, something that I know has a note. And then I'll click on Add. I can accept the default display, which is a truncated view of the note. To show an alternative view, I'll leverage the duplicate option. I'll click on it, select the settings icon, and then towards the bottom, I'll select duplicate. I'll create a second instance of the widget, which I can move around the dashboard screen. On this second instance here, I'll click Settings. I'll go to the Display As option, and I'll switch to the Full Notes option. Instead of seeing a truncated view of the note, I can now see a full display of the note, including any replies. I can then compare the two options side by side and decide on which of the two I prefer, or in this case, to save space again, I'll delete them both. Next, I'll show that different types of thresholds can be included on dashboards. I'll select Add Widget. This time select Speedometer. I'll select the Demo org. Expand Examples this time in scoring types. And I'm going to add in the goal red flag measure and the 3-color measure. And then I'll click onto the dashboard. Let's move the two objects around so I can isolate them. And I'll start by selecting the goal red flag object. I'll select Settings and see that there are a number of options I can change on the speedometer, like the drill down destination, what is shown, the background and size, whether it should be kept in front of other objects, locked in position, duplicated, and lastly an option to delete the speedometer altogether. I'll select Showing and see at the bottom, if a measure only contains goal and red flag thresholds, I have the ability to show either of them or not. I'll choose to show them and I'll click Away. On the 3-color object, I'll select Settings again, go back to Showing, but notice the differing display of thresholds at the bottom. Here I have to actually click into it, and then I have the option of choosing which thresholds I wish to select. In this case, I'm going to choose Best and Worst just to pick something different, and I'll have those two thresholds come across on that speedometer. Next, I'd like to illustrate an option with charts and background thresholds. I'll first delete these two objects and then select Add Widget. This time I'll select Chart, then select Scorecard Item, select Customer Support, expand Customer Satisfaction, and I'll select Customer Churn and select Add. I'll then click onto the chart and then select Settings. I'll now select Background Thresholds, and to apply it, I'll select Customer Churn. and I'll see those colors come across for the background on screen there. I'll then click Save, and note that if I preferred a darker shaded background, I could go to Settings in the bottom left, select Application Administration, and switch the global option of Show Darker Colors for Chart Background Thresholds to Yes. I could then click Save, go back to the chart, and see the darker colors. With that, I'll delete the training dashboard to get it out of the way, and I'll click Delete 2 times, and then I'll select Done. Okay, having reviewed some of the features with dashboards, I'll review a few that have already been developed. I'll select the Call Center Key Measures dashboard, which provides a cockpit view of performance across 6 key measures in the call center. For a selected month, it provides a colorized view of performance, the actual value, change from the previous period, red and gold thresholds, and the normalized score. Another dashboard that has already been built is the Product Delivery and Effectiveness dashboard. Here again is a colorized view of monthly performance where I can see 1 KPI in yellow and 2 in red. I see trends to previous period performance in the upper left, a description for each of the measures, and the actual value for, in this case, May 2019. At the bottom is a chart showing a trend for the past year of frequent versus infrequent use customers. Other dashboards already built are the User and Influencer Engagement dashboard and the Customer Satisfaction dashboard. Having reviewed some of the existing dashboards, I'll try rebuilding the first 2 that I looked at. To start, I'll select New Dashboard. I'll type a name like New Call Center, and then select Create. I'm now ready to add my speedometers, but before I do, I'll click on Full Screen in the far right here to provide myself some real estate. I'll click on the plus icon to add a widget, and then select Speedometer. On the left, I'll select the Customer Support org. On the right, I'll expand Help Desk calls, and I'll select Add next to the first 6 measures shown here, all the way down to First Call Resolution. And once I'm done with that, I'll click onto the dashboard. At this point, I'll click Save, and then start working with the speedometers. Each of the speedometers are independent of each other and can be drag and dropped across the screen. If I click on one of them, in the top right the settings icon appears. I actually want the same properties on all 6, so I'll drag and drop a rectangle around all of them by starting above the first one in the top left and then working my way down to the bottom right. Once they're all highlighted, I'll select the settings icon on any one of them, and I'll just pick the top middle. I'll then select the showing option and choose to enable the score and the thresholds. At this point, I'll click Save and then continue on with my changes. If I wanted to align the top 3 speedometers, I can create a rectangle around just the top 3. Click the Align icon towards the top here, and then select the top option. If I wanted to align the bottom 3, I would select just those 3, click Align, and then click Bottom this time. Lastly, I can align left positions, and the only one that really bothers me is these 2 on the left, so I'll highlight those 2 click Align, and then select Left. If I'm done with all my changes, I'll select Save, exit full screen, and then click Done. Next, I'll try to recreate the product delivery and effectiveness dashboard that I reviewed earlier. Once again, I'll select the new dashboard to get started. I'll give it a name like New Product, and then select Create. This particular dashboard contained 3 bubbles and a chart. And to start building that up, I'll select the plus icon again and pick the bubble widget. I'll select Scorecard Item. On the left-hand side, I'll select Keep Key Measures. And on the right, under Product Delivery and Effectiveness, I'll add each of the 3 shown here. At this point, I'll click off onto the dashboard and then click Save. I'll now move the bubbles around the screen just to space them out a bit. Like we saw with the speedometers previously, each bubble has its own properties. However, I'll highlight all 3 and then choose the settings icon next to any one of them. I'll change the layout to be a rounded rectangle by clicking the second icon in the top row. I'll change the background to solid. I'll go back, and under Showing, I'll choose to include the description, actual value, and the score. I'll go back, and the last thing I'll do is I'll click on Size, and I'll change the height to be a uniform 250. Lastly, I'll click the Align icon and align the top. Once I'm done with those changes, I'll click Save in the top right. Next, I'll add a chart to show frequent versus infrequent use customers. Once again, I'll select the plus icon, and this time select Chart. I'll select Scorecard Item, and under Product Delivery and Effectiveness, I'll select Frequent Use Customers and select Add. I'll then click on the chart and just move it down a bit to get it away from the objects up at the top there. With the chart selected, I'll click on Settings here and work my way up to the Edit Chart option. I'll select Add Series to introduce a second measure, and this time I'll click on Infrequent Use Customers and select Done. Note that this measure comes across as a line. I can go to the drop down and change it to something else like a bar. However, I'll leave it as is and I'll select Done. I'll click on the settings icon once again, and this time I'll go into an option called Set Chart Title. Since I now have multiple metrics, I can either change the description or maybe turn off the title altogether, and then click Done. Once I'm happy with the way the dashboard looks, I'll select Save in the upper right, and then in the bottom left, select Done. Lastly, if I'd like to zoom in on the dashboard, I can move my mouse to a blank area and see the magnifying glass icon there. If I click, I'll see that I have zoomed in on the dashboard. And then to zoom out, it's a simple click again.